Subscribed by more than 1 billion users, WeChat is the most influential social media platform in China. WeChat attempts to digitize as many aspects of the user's life as possible, by not only providing instant messaging service, but also facilitating third-party online retailers and services. However, WeChat is more of a surveillance tool of the private corporations and the Chinese government than a service, which carries out a series of social issues such as objectification, discrimination, soft biopolitics, and social reproduction. This documentary illustrates the ways in which the algorithms of WeChat incorporate surveillance through examining moments, which is a place for the users to browse, like, or comment on their friends' posts. Later, the documentary looks at third-party services, which are Smart Hospital and Didi Chuxing. WeChat incorporates surveillance through objectifying social relations. In the context of digital media, visibility is no longer guaranteed but is selected and privileged by the practice named filtering. Filtering the results on newsfeed is also common on social media platforms, and WeChat might not be an exception. Although this algorithm has neither been confirmed nor widely realized, there have been situations which signal its existence. The filtering algorithm on WeChat Moments works like this. Henry's WeChat Moments shows two friends' posts between 8:40 p.m. and 8:50 p.m. However, Dora, who is another WeChat friend of Henry, has posted on 8:45 p.m., but her post doesn't appear on Henry's Moments. The fact is that WeChat evaluates the interactions between Henry and Dora based on non-transparent factors, and after a secret calculation, WeChat decides to filter out Dora's post. This is what WeChat does to the users. It objectifies the complex human interactions and translates them into machine-readable data. As a result, the users are taught to understand their online friendships through the number of likes and comments, and they are also trained to be active in order to gain visibility and popularity on WeChat. The filtering algorithm is impossible to fully understand the human interactions, but it still has the power to alter and govern the user behavior. Visibility is mediated, and the filtering algorithm infers social relations for the users before they have formed conscious intentions. All in all, WeChat objectifies social relations so that it could surveil and control the user interactions.
China's government has been increasingly active in censoring messages that provoke online activism and challenge the dominant control of Communist Party on WeChat. Through applying a set of keyword search algorithms, the system is able to quickly process the content that users have generated and determine whether or not such content could potentially spur online social activism and movement. Aside from the algorithmic panoptic surveillance design of WeChat, accustoms users to the practice of self-censorship in the sense that there is less motive for users to broadcast controversial political information in their family, work, and friend-based WeChat community. In addition, unlike microblog broadcasting, where people is able to explore and read other people's contents, users on WeChat could only reach a limited amount of population within their friend zone. Therefore, the impact of political controversial content would appear less significant to the state due to the lower rate of circulation. In terms of Foucauldian theory on self-discipline and self-governing, it is indisputable that when users internalize the notion of WeChat's panoptic surveillance on politically sensitive content, they would either reject the post or skew the word to avoid being caught by the algorithms. Moreover, there are also a number of commercial content moderation labels who work as human algorithms to detect and filter controversial content, which ensure that a message relates to social activism is removed from users' newsfeed. So using the human apparatus, it further disempowered the right of freedom of speech and privacy. Claiming the potential to optimize the public healthcare service in China, in 2014, WeChat came up with the initiative known as Smart Hospital. Subscribed by more than 1,200 hospitals across the nation, the app appears somehow problematic. As a built-in app operating on WeChat to book and doctor appointment with the hospital, the system requires patients to share their most private information, such as their ID number, home address, and medical history, with the amount of detailed personal information that users regularly share on Smart Hospital. Patients have become vulnerable in the sense that through constituting their own algorithmic identity on WeChat, patients voluntarily turn themselves into subject of surveillance and self-biopolitical control by the state. By analyzing data extracted from online users, The apparatus not only constitutes and defines users' identity but also fragments them into different cybernetic categories for the purpose of social modulation control. Smart Hospital enables the state and medical institution to identify and locate patients who carry transmitted disease and allow the state to govern at distance. However, through biopolitical control, people who carry transmitted disease are often seen not as patients suffering from illness but as a problem to society. Also, the categorization of patients turns individual into quantified data, which essentially increases their transparency and vulnerability to surveillance and manipulation.
WeChat hinders the free market rationale in the taxi market and reproduces social inequality. Operating on WeChat, Didi Chuxing is the largest ride-hailing app in China. The monopoly position enables Didi to impose cooperative surveillance on both the drivers and the riders in order to control the data of the market supply and demand. The dynamic fee calculated by Didi is the first result of this surveillance, which is the extra fee that the passengers are required to pay when the taxi supply is low according to Didi. The price in the open taxi market is usually shaped by market supply and demand, and also under the supervision of the taxi commissions in China. Whereas when Didi replaces the open taxi market with a closed Didi service, it uses an anti-regulatory approach to calculate the price within its own algorithmic black box, and then claims that the market determines the price. The algorithm hinders the free market rationale, but neither the government nor the public holds it in check. More importantly, Didi's surveillance reproduces existing social inequality. First of all, Didi privileges passengers who have good credits and who tip more. Secondly, more and more taxi drivers pay passengers through Didi since Didi stops charging taxi drivers, which further disadvantages the less tech-savvy taxi drivers. A wide digital divide still separates various social groups in China, but now taxi drivers are forced to buy smartphones and use Didi. Otherwise, their competitiveness will be weakened. From all these cases, we see what Didi actually provides is a governing service. Didi sorts and segments both the drivers and riders to categories such as financial ability and access to networks. After that, Didi provides discriminating services based on the categories, and it also excludes certain social groups. Subsequently, the surveillance frameworks of Didi negatively affect the life chances of disadvantaged social groups in China, and thereby Didi reproduces the existing inequality within the society. Human autonomy, agency, and privacy are priceless, but we treat them for the services on WeChat. So as users, we must acknowledge that the services are not free, and we are being constantly surveilled by WeChat.